You are watching Renewed Day by Day with Pastoral Flarosa. Here is the next part of the lesson on worry, fear, and anxiety.
We have a school, we have a church, we have parents, and we have children are a sacred responsibility. And Jesus gives us a serious warning. In Matthew 18:5-6, and whoever welcomes a little child like this, and he took him up and held him, is in my name, welcomes me. I mean, children are sacred to God, and it's a sacred responsibility to be a parent, to be a teacher, to be in a position of authority in any place where children are a part of that, like a school, or even a church and a Sunday school. We have a sacred responsibility. Listen to this. But if anyone causes one of these little ones, and they're helpless, they just go by what they hear, who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a large millstone hung around his neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. And even during the time with Jesus, they're the ones that sang Hosanna. There were lots of children, teenagers that responded to him. They loved him. Okay? And the adults, not so many, some. But it's really important. This is not a joke. They are a sacred responsibility. So let's go back to worry and fear. Many times, how can I say this? People just go along with everything. They don't say anything. They don't expose the truth because of fear. And some of it, sometimes it's very legitimate. Some people are just surviving, and they just want to keep their job. And they're being threatened, if you don't do this, you don't do that. There's mandates, and some of them are not even constitutional, both in the Philippines and the U.S. And yet, we have a window of opportunity during this election season, so let's expose some of these things. Okay. And Matthew 6:33 says, Jesus Christ said, no matter which side you're on, and this applies to whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, if you seek him first, God can cause everything to work together for good, no matter what. So wherever you are, it's always better to know the truth. And all of us can look back and say, oh, if I would have known that, I wouldn't have did this, me included many times, okay? But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things, the wisdom, the understanding, the solution, wherever you are right now, God will meet you there, and he's got a solution. And his righteousness and all these things, the solutions, will be added to you. Whether it's your finances or your interests or your social media addiction, okay, or your relationships, and that's probably causing the most stress and worry and fear is relationships, no doubt about it, okay, or your schedule or your troubles, whatever it is. Put God first, and there's a solution. And what I really want to focus in on is God does not want us as believers in Jesus Christ focused on him, putting him first. He does not want us. This whole pandemic is caused by fear. And we're going to bring that out hopefully in this lesson. All worry and anxiety relate to fear. And that's why we have that. Because we fear this and we fear that. And most of the time we fear the wrong thing. But the very hairs of your head are numbered. God knows where you are right now. He knows your immune system. He knows all. He can turn anything around. So we're not trying to scare you. We're trying to prepare you. Listen to the bottom line. He has every cell in your body counted. He sees every function of your immune system. He knows every hair on your head. You don't have to fear if you're a believer in Jesus Christ. You have already solved the greatest problem. Okay, we're going to bring that out at the end. Now, let's talk about, please just relax. Let's talk, this is, adults, we can't do much about the adults, but we have an obligation to tell the truth about children. And vaccines for children and babies, this is a worldwide problem. In the US, the Philippines, it's not just here, okay? It's everywhere. And we need to expose this. We need to know the truth. Okay, fear and worry and anxiety is related to what I call, I learned it from Dr. Malone, mass formation psychosis. Actually, it's during this pandemic that I finally understood why so many smart people with high degrees and high intellect, very smart people, how they could believe in evolution, which is such a fairy tale. It's just beyond me. For years, I said, how can they believe that? But I know now. It's related to mass formation psychosis. So they just say it over and over again. It's a fact. It's science. It's all of this, and it's not a fact, and it's not science. They believe in the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything. If you follow it back to its logical conclusion. And that's not science. And so I have finally, and there's a book out on it by a psychologist, and I can't wait to read that book on mass formation psychosis, okay? And it's also related to vaccines. I mean, you're almost a heretic if you even challenge the narrative, the story. If you challenge all of the things you see on regular media, social media, or the regular news, and so on. So, Metro Integrated Learning Center, GMF, all we want is to inform parents, single moms, those that deal with children, and we can't make choices for you. It's your choice. You say, I've already made a bad choice. God can turn that around. We're not in the tribulation. Believe me, this is nothing like the tribulation. You say millions have died. Let me tell you, in just the beginning of the Great Tribulation, 2 billion people are going to die if it took place anytime soon. This is nothing. So prepare yourself now. There's a solution. Okay, I learned a lot from this guy, and I admire him because he's called a heretic. He's a famous doctor. He's invented vaccines. He understands vaccines. And he's got a group of 17,000, the last count I heard, of doctors all over the world that have formed under him. He's the president of an organization that are exposing the truth. And when people even bring it up, they're called, misinformation, heretics, it's not true. And then you'll look at the people with billions of dollars who have made billions of dollars and continue to make it. They're the ones that put out the misinformation. All you got to do is follow the money. Okay, these guys are not making a lot of money off the vaccine, and they never will. Okay, so you need to look at some of the places that really expose this. Epic Times, the Daily Wire, and there's a lot of things you can go on. Rumble. You can go to a lot of places. Telegram. Anyway, go see our IT guys. They can tell you where to go. They know better than me. They find them. Okay, let's just talk about this. He has a partner. He's one of the doctors that are exposing these things. Okay, and I really didn't understand a pathologist. I understand the Greek word pathos, which means to suffer. But I didn't understand a pathologist doctor. At first, when I heard about them, because they spend so much time in the lab, I thought they were just a simple lab technician. They took but they're much more than that. And I think it's important that you understand this. And then we have a video that, of course, on YouTube, they'll throw it off, or on some of the social media platforms, they'll throw it off. But we have it in a place they can't throw it off. And if you want a copy of this guy, it's an hour presentation, and it's excellent. I'm going to give you a little background so you understand how important this guy's testimony is. Why is a pathologist doctor critical in our present crisis? Okay, a pathologist is a vital part of any patient's care team, especially with dealing with cancer or viruses or anything to do with the immune system. And like I said, I became interested in this back in the 1990s, early 1990s, because of my son's, his immune system, after he got that anthrax vaccine, when he had to get out of the military and we took care of him, it was about the same as an AIDS patient. It was that destroyed because of that vaccine. And he was able to build it back up, get married, have kids, but it's still a struggle even to this day. And of course, a lot of it's his decisions, and we all make bad decisions in reaction to what happens to us in life, if you're honest. And yet the pathologist may be largely invisible to the patient. The reason some medical students don't, they said this right on Google. They said, when you can Google pathologist, even some medical students really don't understand what a pathological doctor is, a pathologist doctor. They don't understand what he is. That's because much of a pathologist's work is conducted in the lab. Now, of course, some lab technicians, they don't even have to go to medical school. They just check the blood and they write down they can do that just like people taking a swab now. They're not necessarily doctors. They're just either nurses or they've been trained in that. But I want you to know a pathologist doctor is much more than a lab technician. Okay, I want to get into that. Okay, let's talk about a pathologist doctor. A pathologist is a medical doctor. He can actually treat people in addition to lab work. A pathologist is a medical doctor with additional training in laboratory techniques used to study disease. Okay? Pathologists may work in the lab alongside with scientists, like Dr. Malone, who's a virologist, and with special medical training. A lot of special medical training. Most of them have they have to go 4 years, and then many of them go another 4 years just to specialize as a pathologist. Okay, this is one that just blew my mind, and he's a partner actually with Dr. Malone, and he's a part of that group of 17,000 physicians that are exposing what's going on. And the big one for me is that it can be dangerous for kids. So wherever you are with that, don't worry about it. Just do something about it and think about it and inform yourself. Can you do that? You can at least get the information. You show me anything, I'll look at it and I'll compare it. Usually I find out who's sponsoring it. And usually if it's misinformation, it's sponsored by somebody with a lot of money, okay? Or a lot of money to lose. So once again, Dr. Ryan Cole has treated 500,000 patients in 18 years. In the last 2 years, he's focused on COVID-19. He's also treated people, including members of his family, starting with his brother. All of them got well, none of them died. And yet they have taken his license. He's licensed in many states, but some of them, they've taken his license away because he has exposed the truth. So a pathologist may examine a sample of tissue for a virus, like COVID-19, bacteria, or other infectious agents. The vast majority of cancer diagnoses are made by or in conjunction with the pathologist, okay? So they're very important just to help with diagnosing the disease that you have. And many times they expose what's happening with some of the treatment, okay? That's important. Sometimes the treatment causes more death than the actual cancer or COVID-19. So we have to be careful. And I'm not exaggerating. This is the truth. I'm trying to give you what they said. So you say, well, you're a pastor and a teacher and a preacher. What do you know about this? I've been studying this since 1990. I understand what they're saying. I may have to listen to it several times. I may have to look up a lot of words, but believe me, I have studied this issue. Okay? And Dr. Ryan Cole is a pathologist. He has his own diagnostic center, founder of Cole Diagnostics. And why, pastor, teacher, preacher, are you bringing this up? Because we have a ministry with children in our church, in our school, with our grandkids. And listen to what he said. This is why, right here. He found out in the last over 2 years alarming cancer trend. In other words, not only COVID-19, but there's an uptick, he calls it, or there's an increase in cancer related diseases that shouldn't be there, because when you destroy the immune system, cancer is not only dying of COVID, but more people get cancer because their immune system is compromised. So the alarming cancer trend suggests that, listen, this is his statement, not mine. Okay, I just gave you all his credentials. Suggests that COVID-19 vaccines alter natural immune response. Is that important? You bet it's important, especially in children. Their immune system is young and strong, and why compromise it? Why alter it? And why are some of these childhood cancers on the increase?
Thank you for watching. We'll continue the lesson on worry, fear, and anxiety on our next video. God bless you and stay healthy.